Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Wild Card Weekend edition of the BSB. I am Sean Kaus, and with me, as always, I have my good friend, my brother, Tony James, and we are your betting strategy brothers. BS, how are you doing this evening?
I'm not bad, Kaus. I've got a little drinky, and I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Actually, my drinky
Yeah, let's get into those right now.
is a little soul. So
Soul.
I've never had it. I never drank it. And then actually last year, when Buffalo played Dallas on Thanksgiving, one of my good friends that I teach with, Jared, he goes to Mexico all the time. And he's a Cowboys fan. Everything else about him is great, but he's a Dallas fan. And so we bet on the Dallas Bills game, and we bet a 30-pack. And he goes, well, I'll bring you a 20-pack of Sol from Mexico. And I go, okay, well, I've never had it before. He goes, trust me, it's different from Mexico than it is when you buy it in the store. Mm-hmm. So first time I had Sol was from Mexico, and it was freaking fantastic. I couldn't believe it. It was so good. It's one of those where it was so good I didn't want to drink it. Like I didn't want it to run out. So I don't know. Last weekend, I had some Coronas and they sounded good. So today I was like, oh, let's stay Mexican. Let's go Sol. But I got it at the store and he is absolutely right. It is not as good it's still a good beer. Don't get me wrong, but it is not as good a beer from the store as it is from Mexico.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, just to go along with that, it's not even just beer, right? It's even the pop. If you go get a Pepsi from one of those Mexican carnicerias or mercados, they're totally different, right? And they taste so good. So yeah, I hear you there. Well, I went the same route as last week because I'm just not very original right now. And I went with another Pink Whitney and La Croix mix because it's just kind of a go-to right now. It's nice and refreshing. It was a warm day in California today. And so I'm just having one of those. And then hopefully in an hour or two after the show, I'm going to just crash out like a baby and be ready for 10 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I'm not original when it comes to Bills game. Every Bills game, you're going to see me drinking whiskey and ginger ale with a Labatt Blue Light on the side of that. So I appreciate doing the same. If it works, if you like it, keep doing it. Mm-hmm. I like to change it up every once in a while on Fridays. Get a little different taste. Get the whistle wet a little bit differently for that game. So, all right.
Well, how did your week go? I was just going to ask you the same thing. I did not have such a great week. I won my Buffalo, Tennessee parlay for 20, and then I got 2 of 3 on my round robin to get 19 back from that. But I finished down 61. How about you?
You did better than me. I didn't do too well. Now, I've said it before, and I'll say it again many, many times. If you really want to make money, don't try for the home runs. Don't go for those bets that are 10 to win 300. Go for the 10 to win 2s because 9 out of 10, probably 9.999 out of 10 times those are going to win. And that's exactly what happened to me last week. I got oh, wow.
You got the Charger win for sure.
I got the Charger. Sorry. The Charger win was my straight bet. And I won that. I knew KC was sitting everybody, so I was going to win that. And then my prop bet of Seattle getting over 2.5 touchdowns came in for me. I'm still down $70. Week 17 is always a buy. But like I said, the rest of them, I took a guess, especially on week 17. I took a guess New England would sit people. They didn't. Tampa Bay would sit people. They didn't. So those kind of screwed me there a little bit. But as usual, my straight bets are coming in. And that's when, like I said, we don't always share all of our bets on Facebook or anything like that. But when we do, a lot of them are either straight bets or they're 2-team parlays or 3-team teasers. They're small, not like what we always talk about on here. But we do those to try to have some fun, try to get some big money. But we also we can call it hedging our bets where we do the ones we know are going to make our money back.
For sure. And we have a couple of those this week as well. We'll get into in a little bit, but yeah, it's really hard, man. It's hard to, and I throw out there once in a while the miracle ones, right? Just it sounds like a good idea. Sounds like a fun thing. Hey, this might happen. I had a friend, Eric, who hit a nice one a couple of weeks ago, 10 to win $700, which was great. But
nice.
You have like the Jets winning and the Bengals winning and like all these things that just like sometimes the stars just don't align. And then you added that week 17 where it's so difficult, especially when you have teams sitting people or teams that just flat out, well, we don't know if we're going to sit anybody, but we'll see how the game goes, like the Buffalo Bills. And
it didn't matter,
exactly.
But more so the Philadelphia Eagle game. That game screwed me. I teased the over down to 36. I go, that's money, and then they freaking got rid of Hurts, and there goes that. And I was so pissed, and I'm sure a lot of people lost money because of that move.
100%. I did. I had Philadelphia, so I was a loser there too, and they were in it right there at the end. So it's disappointing, but we've got 6 great football games this maybe 5 great football games, maybe one that's not so great, and then we have a college football championship game as well on Monday night. So
on Monday night, yep.
Well, let's
get right into it.
For sure.
I'll start. I'm going to start my straight pick. I'm going right to the college championship.
Right to Monday.
I'm going right to Monday, and I'm going to start with Alabama. I'm taking Alabama on the money line. It's only 10 to win $3, but Bama's going to win. Here's the thing, and we talked about this earlier. I don't think, yes, this is a COVID year, and college teams got screwed by how many games they played, and this team played that, and I really don't think it would have been much different, if different at all, of the Final Four who would have been in, even if it was a normal year. I was surprised to see Ohio State win. Clemson did not adapt on the fly. They did not, Trevor Lawrence, he's still going to go number 1. He's still a stud. He's going to be a stud in the NFL, but they didn't adapt. Ohio State brought pressure, and they're still trying to get Trevor Lawrence 20 yards down the field when their line isn't stopping anything. Like, give him some slants, give him some quick slants, give him some play action, give him something to get that rush off him, and they just weren't doing it. So I think that was a fluke on Clemson's part, not really Ohio State being dominant. So I don't think Ohio State can come back and repeat that performance. On top of it, Ohio State got so ravaged by COVID, they talked about moving the championship. That's been a hot topic. They've been talking about moving it, and they're not going to. When you look at the injury list, Bama's is like 2, and Ohio State is like 20, and it's undisclosed, which basically we can assume is COVID because we know COVID hit them. So I just think Ohio State has too many things going against them here, and I don't think they can repeat that performance against Clemson. So I'm going to take my $3 and run.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Kaus. I mean, I think Mac Jones is better than Justin Fields, and I go back to that Northwestern game that Ohio State played in the Big Ten championship game, and Ohio State just didn't look right. I don't know if it was more of what Northwestern was doing, but I was texting with a buddy while watching that game, and we were talking about, if Northwestern loses the lead, the game is over, and that's exactly what happened. Northwestern lost the lead, and the game was over because Northwestern can't play from behind. Last week, I agree with you. I thought Ohio State had a good game plan. I thought Clemson had a crap game plan, and then Alabama was just Alabama, right? I mean, they just dominated every facet of that game against Notre Dame. And you throw that in there, throw in the COVID thing, and Alabama actually played a full season this year. They played 12 games. Yeah. Ohio State played 7 games. There were times where they had some gaps in their schedule, and the gaps in the schedule cause you to not get into a good rhythm. And I think that's what happened to Ohio State. I think Alabama is going to roll right over them. I agree with you here.
Yeah, and that's why the odds are so much. $10 only going to win me 3 because Vegas is in it to make money, so they're not stupid. They're thinking the same thing we are. So, but I'm going to take that $3 they're going to give me, and I'm going to run with it.
Yeah, for sure.
What you do on your straight pick?
Well, I'm going to the first game on Saturday for my straight pick. I'm going to the Bills-Colts game, and I'm going with the over on this one, over 51. I'm going to put $33 on it. It's going to win me 30. I just don't see any reason why this is not a score fest. Josh Allen has had a phenomenal season. And it's funny because at that time when the Bills drafted Josh Allen, they're like, oh, you took Josh Allen from Wyoming and he's not going to amount to anything. And he turns out that he's probably the best quarterback from that draft class. He's an impeccable leader. The offense believes in him, and you can see when he's on the field, he just takes control, and I really like that. And this is a game against the Colts. Felipe Rios on the other side of the ball. I can't help it, man. But that offense is good for, even against a Buffalo defense. I still think that offense is good for 21 points, but I think Buffalo is going to put up 35, and there you go. There's 56, and that's over. So I'm going to look for a score fest. I'm going to look for it early on Saturday so I can take that money and put it on other games that afternoon.
Well, and I'm glad you said talking about putting on a games afternoon. We got a new bet this week that we are going to talk about later that will do it for you, and you don't even have to worry about that. So that makes it nice. But I agree with you. I think it goes over, and here's why. When you look at the last, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 6 last Buffalo games, they've either come within a touchdown or covered the over themselves.
Oh, for sure.
Themselves without the other team scoring. So I easily could see this. I don't think Indy's D is good enough. And all week I've been, I hate going against Fake Reich. He's my boy. I loved him when he was in Buffalo. I was big. He had the right stuff. But you know what? We won. And when we beat Miami, we got him into the playoffs. So that's all I got for you. And now it's no holds barred, and we're going to take the gloves off and do it. One thing that you did say that kind of struck me a little bit when you say, against a Buffalo D. Dude, Buffalo's D's figured it out in the last 6 weeks. True. In the start of the year, they were pretty bad. They were not there, but they got, Edmonds was out. They had Jesus, my mind just went blank. They had another linebacker out. God, I'm looking at his face. I can't think of his name. Anyway, he was out and he came back. And Matt Milano, there we go. He was out injured too as well. So they got those two back. And once they got those two back, it started clicking, and they're doing great. Klein filled in for Milano, great, but it wasn't the same leader that Milano was. And now that defense is clicking on all cylinders. So I really think, there's a prop bet we talked about where one of them is Rivers to throw an interception, and it's like minus 160 or something like that, because it's almost inevitable that Buffalo's going to get at least, I would guess, 2 or 3 turnovers on this game. So, but they're going to turn it into points. So I like your over bet on this.
Yeah. And Indianapolis defense against the run is really, really good. But if Buffalo's smart, they're going to come in and throw the ball like crazy. And if they throw the ball like crazy, this game's going to get out of hand really quickly, in my opinion.
But in any ways, who's watched highlights knows that Buffalo doesn't run the ball. Even last week, I said, I think they're going to, in 2 weeks ago when they played New England, I said, I think they're going to try to establish a run game. They want to go into the playoffs with the run game. But this is one game you don't want to use a run game for. And when you look at it, Buffalo has the highest percentage of passes on first down in the league. They're at like 68% or something like that, passing on first down, which is the highest in the league. So they're going to throw the ball. That's what they do. They put it in Josh's hands. They let Diggs get open. The only thing that could hurt this is if Diggs and Beasley don't play, which they are probable. I think last time I saw, maybe they were still questionable. That's the only thing that could hurt it, because without, Diggs is even, people are talking about him being the 5th best for the MVP. So that might hurt the over a little bit, but I still think Allen's going to get there. You look at last week, he did it with Isaiah McKenzie. He threw 2 touchdowns at Isaiah McKenzie. Like, everybody knows he's their end around guy, and he's not going to get you a lot of catches, a lot of yards. But he technically had 3, but one was a punt return. He had 2 touchdown catches for touchdown. Where that it's 65 yards, that came out of nowhere. So it just proved that Allen can do it with anybody. So I like your over bet here.
Yeah, I think it's a good call. And the other thing I like about Allen is he's not afraid to tuck the ball and run when he doesn't see something, and that's an advantage that I think they have over the Colts here too. Is Rivers is more of a pocket passer, not really going to throw the ball. He's going to go through his check downs and then throw it away. So I really like Buffalo here.
I agree.
Let's talk about your parlay, my brother.
So my first parlay, I went with both morning games. Okay, and I know we don't like carrying them over. I'm pretty sure Baltimore, Tennessee is the morning game on Sunday, right? Am I right on that? All right, that's what I thought. I get confused drinking and talking. Sometimes I confuse myself. But I went with both of the overs on there, and my $5 is going to win me $13 on this. I took the Indy over 50, Indy Buffalo over 51, just like you just did. And then I did the Baltimore Tennessee over 54.5. Now, you and I have talked already. We're going to get in later who we think is going to win this game. Excuse me, but we really think that there's going to be a lot of passing. There's going to be a lot of scoring in this game, and there's going to be over 54.5 very easily. So I like that parlay.
I completely agree with you. I think that's a Jerry Lewis score-a-thon right there as well. Now, the last time they played, they did not go over 54.5, I believe.
They did not.
But that these offenses are different now, and I say that because Lamar Jackson is back in his stride and getting going. I really like this parlay. I think Tennessee is good for 4 touchdowns here, and I think Baltimore is also good for 4 touchdowns minus an extra point.
Well,
but we'll talk about that later.
And here's the thing: you're saying they didn't go over 54 last time. They did hit 54 last time. They had 54 exactly. So would they got it over? No. But here's the thing: that last game was when Baltimore had their whole COVID for like 2 months. Actually, it was more like a month. But that was when Baltimore was missing a lot of players, and they still got to 54 total in that game. So I think that happens again. I don't think Derrick Henry's going to – I mean, he's a running back and talk for MVP, but he got 2,000 yards. I just think Baltimore's run defense is too good. It's going to make Tannehill throw the ball, and Tannehill's good at throwing the ball. He's not a bad quarterback at all. So I think that leads to a lot of points.
I'm very impressed with the move from when he got traded to Tennessee. I'm like, what are they doing? They have Mariota already, but he has been a fantastic pickup. He runs the ball exceptionally well. The only thing that I see with Tennessee here is in the last game, like Derrick Henry took him three periods to get it going, and finally in the fourth and in overtime he got on track, and I think he put it was about 78 or 80 yards in the fourth quarter and overtime. So Baltimore had him contained for 3 quarters, but it was the fourth quarter and the overtime where Tennessee just warmed down. And if I remember right, Baltimore was up 21-10, I think, at one point in that game, and lost 30-24. So, but I really like the over here as well. So I think this is a winner for sure.
I agree. All right, what do you got on yours?
Well, I went to I didn't split mine up. I went with Saturday games, and I've got Seattle minus 3.5, and I've got Washington, Tampa Bay under the total. I'm going to put 22 on this to walk off with $56. We'll talk about Seattle and the Rams first, and we still don't know if it's going to be Goff or if it's going to be Wolford. But either way, the last time these two teams played, it was a Seattle win. I believe it was 20-9, and that was just 3 or 4 weeks ago up in Seattle. The Seattle defense completely stymied the Rams. And it got to a point in that game, like Seattle never pulled way far ahead, but I never felt that the Rams were in the game. And I think that if Seattle takes that same game plan and applies it this week, I think it's going to be the same thing. I think Seattle will stay up by 10 points or so. We know about the Rams defense. We know how excellent it is. But I think that if Seattle gets up like 17-6, 17-7, I think this game is going to be over.
I agree that the Rams cannot come from behind. They're not good at it. They haven't been. They've done it a few times this year, but that's not their strong suit. But I think you're wrong. And here's
tell me why I'm wrong.
And hey, I've told you why you're wrong many times, and I've ended up being the wrong asshole. So sometimes I'm right, but that's why we do this. Here's the thing. First of all, the key to this is if Goff plays. John Wolford is the nephew of Will Wolford. He was a Bill back when they went to 4 Super Bowls in a row. So I don't think he's going to channel the Bills' luck, but he did look better as the game went on. You could tell he had happy feet when he started that game last week. I watched that game. He had some happy feet. He was moving around quick, but then by the end of the game, you could see he wasn't hopping as much. He wasn't moving around as much. He was staying confident. He was getting in there. And some of the throws he was making were pretty impressive. He does have a good resume. Granted, It was in some suspect leagues, but he does have a decent resume coming in. But if God, if
I
go
would say
ahead,
he was great at Wake Forest. So I
yeah,
mean, Wake Forest isn't a football power, but he was great. And I agree with you. He did make some good reads last week for sure. The one thing that concerned me though was that he didn't lead a touchdown drive. The Rams got their touchdown on defense. So
Goff hasn't either though.
well, and that's the thing too is that Goff, the Rams, I would say the last since their Super Bowl season, like the back end of that Super Bowl season, their offense has just looked. It just seems like it's taken steps backwards, which is not good. I don't think Goff has had it all this year. Like at one time, it's just they've just been kind of like hit and miss, and I'm not sure why.
Well, and I don't know, and I think that's part of the reason McVay is keeping it hush hush on who's starting. He's trying to keep as much question about it and giving Seattle a little to prepare about it. Try to get any advantage he can because he needs it. But here's the thing, you know as well as I do, when you're playing, we've played sports. I played all sorts of sports in high school, in college, stuff like that. And when there's that one player that is out, you can feel it. And then when that player comes back, there's a different energy that you have to play for that. And I think Goff is that on that offense, even though I don't think he is the best player on that offense. I think he has that attitude with and his team believes in him. So if he comes back, I think that's a big boost for them. And totally then when Seattle's defense has definitely been on the uptick, but they're not. I don't think they're good enough to beat them twice in the season. They split the season. So whoever wins now has to win twice. And I think McVay and the Rams have the product to be able to do it with Goff at the helm. When you look at Seattle, a little betting tidbit, which, hey, that's what we're doing here. Seattle is 4-6 against the spread when they've been favored by more than 3.5. 4-6. So they have a losing record against the spread when they've been favored by more than a field goal. Is what it really is. By more than a field goal. So they got 3.5 here. So they have a losing record, and the Rams are 3-1 when they have been getting more than 3 points. So I mean, just when you look at history there, I mean, Seattle's offense is another thing that's suspect. They did not look good all year. They haven't looked good. They haven't clicked. I mean, somehow I watch those games and they're not electric. They're not doing it. They are winning games.
They're just getting it done. They're just getting it done.
And somehow DK Metcalf still got over 1,300 yards. Like, I don't like. I saw that stat and I had to look at it a bunch of times. Like, that doesn't. They didn't look that good. Like, I was so. I mean, Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson. Don't get me wrong, but I was so floored when I read that stat. I'm like, really? But Seattle's D did figure themselves out later on. I just don't think their offense is going to be able to pull them through, and that's where I think LA is going to take control of that game and win. And once again, that's with Goff. Even with Wilford, I think they'll keep it close, but I think Seattle will win. But if Goff plays, I think it's going to be a close game, and I think that half a point is going to screw you on this one.
Yeah, it's going to be the Rams are going to have to throw the ball to win. They're going to have to throw the ball to win, and if it's and that's where I'm thinking that if it's Wolford, I don't think they're going to be able to get it done. This is a big moment for him. And the game that comes to mind for me is when the Raiders played the Texans after Carr got injured and they go down to Houston in a game that's completely winnable for them, but they have to go with Connor Cook. And that was just a unmitigated disaster. So, you make a great point, right? With Goff, if Goff is in there, then all of a sudden the whole team just kind of elevates, rises up. It's like, yeah, our guy's behind center. Whereas if you got Wolford going, it's like, yeah, we know he can win, but
he's not proven. He didn't have a great week. Yeah, it's a lot. And I mean, how good is it? I don't know if you've ever played injured. I played football with a broken hand. I broke my hand, still played for a lot of weeks. And I actually remember in high school when I broke my hand, coach was like, your hand broken? I'm like, yeah. He goes, do sit-ups instead of push-ups whenever I tell you, but you're playing. So that was the consensus I had back then was like, hey, my hand's broken. I'm going to play through it. And that's what we did. And it was great to say, man, I was a lineman, so every time I beat somebody, I'm like, dude, my hand's broken. I'm still kicking your ass. And I think Goff's going to have that same mentality as, dude, my thumb is still fucked up. It's not right 100%, and I'm still beating you. So I think he's going to have that mentality. I think he's going to bring it in, and they're going to win.
That's a good point. I think this is going to be, like one of those just grind it out, muck it out 20-10 games. I mean, it's not going to be fun to watch, I don't think. Let's talk about Washington and Tampa Bay. I think this is a big opportunity for Washington. I think if their front four can put pressure on Brady, that's going to be like the key, right? If you can get Brady with happy feet and get him moving around when he doesn't like to move around, I think that's a big opportunity for Washington. I see this game as being like a 21-14 type of game. I think Tampa Bay wins. I don't think there's going to be a lot of scoring. I don't think Washington has the offensive firepower to keep up with Tampa Bay if Tampa Bay gets going. But at the same time, I don't think Tampa Bay is going to be super successful against that Washington defense.
Here's where you're right on the under bet. Washington, the under has been 6-2 in Washington home games this year. 6-2. So it's going to stay that way. Washington's defense is too good to allow that many points, and their offense isn't good enough to score enough points. So here you're right. I think this is a win. As far as the under, I'm going to get into the actual game later, actually next when we talk about that. But the under is 6-2 in home games. I think their defense is going to come up the middle, keep Brady uncomfortable. He's not going to throw the ball a lot and be able to. I think it's going to be a running game. And then Alex Smith, we know his yardage per pass attempt is like barely 5 yards in the air. So it's quick, short passes that take a lot of time, and running the ball and quick, short passes that take a lot of time does not lead to a lot of points, and that's going to be an under game. So I agree with you 100% here.
You just took the words right out of my mouth. In order for Washington to win this game, they need to shorten the game. And if they can shorten the game with their 5-yard passes and 3-yard runs, then they're going to get it done, and that will come in way under.
Agreed.
All right, let's. You want to talk about your round robin?
Yes, let's get into round robins here. For those of you who don't remember, round robin is where you can win. It's almost like a parlay where you can pick. I'm picking 3 teams. You can do as many as you want, but then each one, just like a round robin tournament. If you've ever been in a round robin tournament, each team goes with each team, and then you can do all 3 together. If you do 4, you can do each 2 team, each 3 team, each 4 team. You can pick how you want to do it. I'm only doing 3. I am doing all the 2s and 3s, so I have 4 bets. Okay.
All right.
So first of all, I'm going all money line. This is all money line round robin. I got Buffalo, I got the Rams, and I got Washington. Buffalo, we've already talked about. Their only home loss this year was Kansas City, and it wasn't by much. There's no way Indy is going to come in and be better than Kansas City in Buffalo. It's going to be 34. Felipe Rios is used to playing in beautiful San Diego or in a dome in Indy, and now he's coming in. And not that he's never played in cold. I mean, if you've been in the NFL, you've been in cold games. Even if you didn't make the playoffs, you've been in cold games. But that's not a norm for you. That's not where you're comfortable, especially for Phillip Rivers. So he's not going to play well. Buffalo's going to dominate this. Indy's D is great against the rush, but we've already talked about how Buffalo, they're not going to rush the ball. And like I said, a big thing is going to be whether Diggs and Beasley play for sure. But when you look at it, Buffalo has outscored their opponents 229 to 110 since week 12. 229 to 110 since week 12. And then it's not playing nobodies. You got the Chargers in there, which, they don't have a great record, but they're a good team. You got Pittsburgh in there, who they beat 11. They were 11-1 when they beat them. You got New England. Okay, they're a gimme game. San Francisco is not a gimme game, even though they're not playing with Garoppolo and all those people. They were still a tough team to beat. You got Denver in there, which, okay, whatever. And then Miami, last week they beat the shit out of Miami. In half the game, they had their JV team in there, and they still beat them. And Miami's defense is great. So Indy has a good D. It's not as good as Miami, and you saw what they did to Miami last week. Indy's best hope is Jonathan Taylor's going to run the ball like he did against Jacksonville last week for over 200 yards. But even if he does, Buffalo's going to put up too many points for them to come back. I don't think he runs that much. When I go the Rams, I've talked about already when we talked about that how Seattle is 4-6 against the spread, and the Rams are 3-1 against the spread when they're 3.5 points in their favor or not in their favor. I think this has the upset in the making. Honestly, even though it's in Seattle, I don't think it's. And yes, we've said it all year. It's not a big home field advantage. It's not a huge thing, but it is still traveling, and I think the Rams are ready to travel to Seattle and actually win there and actually beat them. So I think that plays in their favor. And then Washington, look, I've seen Brady for too many years, and I know how to beat him. And you beat him by making him freaking move, and Washington is going to do that. Now, the last 7-win team to get in the playoffs was
Carolina.
Was a Ron Rivera coached Carolina, and they won that game. Now, granted, they played Arizona with their third-string quarterback. Mm-hmm. Whatever. I still think he has a better team now to do it, and he's going to do it. One thing, Washington is 31st in the league in offensive efficiency. 31st.
Yep.
That's the 4th worst team by a playoff team. That's the 4th worst stat by a playoff team. All the other 3 teams that have done it before, which were the 2010 Seattle Seahawks, 2016 Houston, and 2011 Denver Broncos. All 3 of those teams won their first playoff game.
That's true. That was I just saw the highlight today of that Denver win against Pittsburgh where Tebow throws the 20-yard slant and Thomas just runs. Mm-hmm. And I believe that I forgot the first one you said. The 2016 Houston game, that was the game against the Raiders. And then the 2010 game, Seahawks. That was the beast mode game, right?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. That was
also a 7-win team.
Yep. And so they've all won their first playoff game. So I think that goes here too. Look, both teams are going to try to blitz the quarterbacks. Both teams know that. I mean, Alex Smith is a comeback story of all time. You know, people say of the year. He is the comeback story of all time. It's a great story. He doesn't have the mobility he once did. Bruce Arians is going to try to bring it against him, but he throws the ball so quick. It's out. These 5-yard passes, he's not looking. Now, a lot of those are check down, but the other half are quick passes. So he's going to get it off quick. They're not going to get to him in time. Whereas Brady, he's playing for no risk it, no biscuit. So he's looking for long bombs, and they're going to get to him. They're going to make him uncomfortable.
I don't think anybody's going to be surprised if Washington wins this game. I don't think anybody would be surprised.
I think they will just because they're a 7-win team. I think that's their biggest thing. But when you look at it, I think Alex Smith is only lost 1 game this year as a starter. I think if I read it correctly. So they've only won 7 games, but 6 of them have been Alex Smith winning for him. So I've been on the Washington train for a while, and I think this fits here.
Yeah, I really don't like what a pattern I've seen out of Tampa Bay this season is either playing down to your competition, and then they'll pull away at the end. Like last week, they pulled away from Atlanta at the end, and then several weeks ago when they played at Carolina, they pulled away from Carolina at the end. But then you have games like they did on national TV against the Saints where they just bloody didn't even show up. And that's kind of what I'm concerned about.
And that defense made Brady uncomfortable. That's 100%. Exactly what they did, and that's how they won. And so I'm putting 10 on each 4 of my bets. I'm going to win $289. This is my pay the rent bet for the week.
Nice.
What'd you do on your round robin?
So on my round robin, you're really going to love me. I went to Sunday on mine. I've got Tennessee on the money line. I've got New Orleans and Chicago over 47. And I've got Pittsburgh on the money line. Even though they're a favorite, I wanted to keep my round robin all on one day. My $20 is going to give me a nice $69. A Tennessee game, man, I just think the wrong team's favored. I think Tennessee wins this game. I think that both teams are going to score a lot of points. I know that the Ravens have a good defense, but I think Tennessee wears them down. So you might not see the success immediately for Derrick Henry in the first and second first and second period, but I think that second half comes around. I think they're going to get the best of Tennessee, best of Baltimore. New Orleans, Chicago. I see that game. I think New Orleans blows them out. That game's going to be like, I see that over covering with a backdoor touchdown by Mitch Trubisky at the end. But that's going to be like 38 to 10 or 38-16. I just don't think Chicago even belong in the same building. And then Pittsburgh. Look, I know they're playing Cleveland, and everybody's like, "Oh, Cleveland! This is the year for Cleveland." I don't think it's the year, man. I think they're a year early. We were talking about this before the show, and I said, let's see if Baker can go 11-5 next year, because they didn't play one of those tough schedules this year, and now that you finished 11-5, now you get a tough schedule. So let's see what he can come up with next year. And plus, Pittsburgh nearly beat them last week with their JV squad. So I like Pittsburgh on this one to win that game.
All right,
You're gonna lay on me about Baltimore. I know you are.
I am laying into you on Baltimore. Here. Baltimore is a way underrated team. You saw it at the end of the year when they started kicking ass at the end of the year. Their 5 losses, for their 5 losses were during their COVID run when they had COVID and they couldn't get rid of it, and people were getting it 10 times in a row and stuff like that. So that's why they lost. If they wouldn't have had those COVID games, I guarantee you they are talking about first or second seed. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. When you look at their losses, they lost twice to Pittsburgh, and both of those being right in that COVID. The first time they lost, they only had a couple times.
And then there's like goofy Wednesday game or something.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, they almost won.
They did almost win, but so they had that. They had a loss to New England, which I don't know. Once again, they were ravished by COVID there and injuries. And then they did lose to Tennessee already this year. So that is the one good thing you have going for you, is that Tennessee did already beat them this year. But once again, that was in the middle of their COVID crisis. And when they beat them by a touchdown. And I mean a touchdown, not a touchdown and an extra point. I mean by 6 points. Yep. Touchdown and extra point, Baltimore wins that game. So, and that was without everybody there. So I think, Baltimore is just clicking on all cylinders. When you look at their last 5 games, they've scored they scored 27 against the Giants, but past that, they've been over 34 every time. So I don't think Tennessee can keep up with that kind of scoring, especially when their main threat is trying to run the ball. Now, like we said earlier, Tannehill, I mean, I would have liked to see what Tannehill would have done in Miami with Flores, but he was obviously in the wrong system in the wrong time. And he's right, and he is good. Baltimore, last year they lost to Tennessee in the playoffs. They're not going to let it happen again. They are out for revenge. They are out to destroy them. It is going to happen. And when you look at like opponents, Tennessee lost to everybody in Baltimore's division except for Baltimore. Mm-hmm. Except for Baltimore, but they lost to the Bengals, they lost to the Browns, and they lost to Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh, by far, was the worst 11-0 team of all time. They lost to everybody in their division. It's where Baltimore went 3-1 against the same division. So, 4-2 against the same division. Mm-hmm. So I just don't see, when you look at like matchups, I don't see how it can. And Tennessee has failed to cover when the over-under has been 50.5. Whenever the over-under, and I don't understand the correlation there, but it has happened that they have failed to cover whenever the over-under has been 50.5. It's weird. Over-under is 54.5, so they failed to cover. So I just don't think they can handle Tennessee or Baltimore. Sorry.
If you go back to November, so when the Titans beat the Ravens, they put 30 up. The next week against the Colts, Titans scored 45. The next week, 35 losing to the Browns. Next week, 31 to the Jags, and they called off the Dogs. The next week, 46 against the Lions. The next week, they got blown out by the Packers. They didn't really, in that snow game. And then 41 against the Texans. I think Tennessee has just enough weapons to keep up with Baltimore here. And I think we talked earlier how this game is going to go over 54.5.
I agree.
I think this is a 35-34 game for Tennessee.
Yeah, I think you're wrong. I think it goes the other way. I do like your New Orleans, Chicago over 47. I think that happens, but I do think you're wrong here. Hey, Mitch Trubisky he figured it out since he hasn't been. They got him under center more. They got him doing a lot of play action and a lot of nakeds, and they figured out that works for him, and he's good at it. So he's not looking as bad anymore, and he is going to be a free agent. So he's playing to get some money. He's playing to find a team. So I think he puts up points. I don't necessarily think it's a blowout. I still think the Saints win. But I think because of that, you're going to have the Saints throw up a lot of points because Chicago's going to throw up a lot of points. But Chicago's defense, Khalil Mack has been non-existent in the past couple of games. Roquan Smith is hurt. He's probably going to play, but he did hurt his elbow last week. So I think you're right. I think New Orleans wins. I think they blow them out, but I think there's going to be a lot more points than 47. I think this game needs to be the 54.5 over. And then Pittsburgh, I agree with everything you said on Pittsburgh. And on top of that, Cleveland, today is the first day. It's Friday, and it is the first day they are practicing as a team this week for their first playoff game since 1990 or playoff games since 2002. Sorry,
Kelly Holcomb year.
Brain fart. But their first playoff win was in 1994. So they've been ravished by COVID. People aren't going to be back for COVID. And last week, like you said, they barely beat a third string Pittsburgh team. Now with Pittsburgh having everybody back, I don't think it wins. So I think you're absolutely right on there. Just worry about that Tennessee game.
And I just want to add that I don't like Pittsburgh at all. They're on my no trust list for sure. But I just think that it's not like I'm going to give Baker Mayfield credit for leading his team to 11-5 this year. I just don't think it's their year.
Hey, all right, what if Cleveland wins? I'm more for it because then Buffalo can play Cleveland at home, beat the shit out of them too. So I'm good with that.
100%. All right, let's talk about your teaser, my brother.
All right, so I went all unders. All unders. And
nice.
4 of them, 10 to win 26. I'm going LA, Seattle under. They're not going to be a lot of points scored. Neither one of those offenses has scored a lot of points all year. Tampa Bay, Washington. The Rams, Seattle after the tease is going to be under 48 points. I don't think that's going to get there. Tampa Bay, Washington. I tease that up to 50.5. I could easily see it being a 20-13 game like the Washington Philly game was.
Yep.
But I'm not taking any chances, so I'm going to tease it up and take the under. Chicago, New Orleans. I went against myself here, and I said, I'm going to tease it up and take the under here, and here's why. I think Mitch Trubisky is going to throw a lot, and I think he's going to connect a lot and make a lot. But there's just that part of my brain in the back of my head that goes, it's Mitch Trubisky. Like I can't see him it's Chicago in the playoffs. Like that stuff in there, I cannot get my head past. So technically, we both could win. You could win. You're probably over 47. I could win my teaser under 53. And the only reason I did that is because I could not pull the trigger like you did and say it's going to go over. It's Mitch Trubisky in Chicago. I just can't do it. And then Cleveland, Pittsburgh, like we said already, I'm going to tease that up to 53 as well and take the under in that. Cleveland's ravished by COVID still. And last week, even when they weren't, and Pittsburgh had their second string in, I think it was 48 was the total. So I'm going to tease it up, and I'm going to expect the same kind of total. I think the outcome is going to be in the other team's favor. I think Pittsburgh was, but that's what happens.
Yeah, I'm not surprised with any of those. And ideally for Chicago, New Orleans, it ends, 31-19. So we both win.
Yeah, I agree. What's your teaser this week?
Well, I kind of went 3 games on Saturday, 1 game on Sunday. I went with your Buffalo Bills. I think there's too much firepower for the Colts, but I teased it down to a pick. I'm taking the under in the Rams-Seattle game as well. I'm taking the under in the Cleveland-Pittsburgh game, and I'm taking Washington. If you're going to give me 14 points with that defense, I'm going to take it. Even if it's against Tom Brady, I'm going to take it.
I agree. Yeah, when we were talking before the thing about that, and I had Washington in my round robin as a money line because I think they're going to win, and it never even occurred to me because I thought they were going to win so much. it never occurred to me to put them in a teaser. And then you said, I'm going to take Washington, tease them. I look and go, oh, shit, plus 14. That's a no freaking brainer because even if they don't win, they're going to be close in that game.
100%. I think like you said, 20-13, 21-17, something like that. That's a winner there. So I'm going to take my $10 and cash in 26.
I agree with that. I like that a lot. So I'm going to go a prop bet here. And you got one. I talked you into prop bets.
You did.
Week. I like it. I won a prop bet last week, so I'm going to stick with it. And we're going to bag on Tom Brady. We're going to do a little bag on Tom Brady. I thought Atlanta was going to be Tampa Bay last week. I really did. And I was flipping through a lot of games last week watching it. And when I saw that, I'm like, yes, I'm going to be right. And then all of a sudden they pulled the way at the end. So it worries me on what's going to happen, but I am going to say that he is going to throw an interception against the number 2 best defense league. He's going to throw an interception. I'm going to put $5 on it to win 4, but he's going to throw an interception. It's going to happen. Their defense is too good of a pass defense. That pass rush is going to make him uncomfortable. He's going to throw a pick. So I'm taking that. I'm not even going to worry about the outcome in that one. I'm going to say he's going to take a pick. He's going to throw an interception.
I think that's a great move for all the reasons you said. The defense is just too good. Like Washington's front 4 is good and their secondary is good. The suspect is right there in the middle, right? But if Brady's going to go down the field and try to find Evans or Brown, and I really like Washington's chances of an INT here.
The great thing is somebody on that front line gets to Brady and he tries to throw it and they get to him they knock it out of a hand. It's a fluke little fly ball in the air, and some lineman catches it for Washington and comes down with it and lays on the ball. It's still a freaking interception. So I'll take that. I'll take that and run to the bank with it.
I thought you were going to say that he gets hit and drops the ball, and Greg Biekert recovers, and then they reverse the ball.
No, I wasn't going there. What do you got for your prop bet? I love that I talked you into one. I love that I talked you into a Tom Brady one.
For the exact same reasons, I took under 287.5 passing yards for Tom Brady. I don't see it happening. I think, man, and I have my buddy Brado is a big Tampa Bay fan. He even said it. He said, look, I wouldn't be surprised if they get Brady moving around and find a way to lose this game. And I think that's what people are thinking, man. It's Washington is like you mentioned earlier, Washington's probably the best 7-win team that we've seen in a while. So I'm going under 287.5 passing yards, put $15 on it to win 12, and I'll see you in line.
I agree with that. All right, I got one more bet, and it is a new bet. New bet alert.
Tell us.
It is an if bet. And you can do an if bet. You can do it's an if win or an if win or push. Mm-hmm. And what this means is just like we've talked about all the time on here, and you talk about, hey, I'm going to do the morning ones and see if I win, and then see how much I have in the afternoon. The bookstore does it for you. Is what I like to say. The bookstore does it for you. Let the bookstore do it for you. So what I'm doing here is I'm going, okay, I am doing all the Sunday games, okay, and I'm going to start with the morning game, and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to take Baltimore. I'm going to put $10 on Baltimore. It's going to win me $5. And I'm going to make this an if bet. And I'm in the same bet, I'm going to take New Orleans. And I'm going to put $10 on them, and that's going to win me $2. And this is all money line, by the way. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to take Pittsburgh, and $10 is going to win me $3 for that. So you notice 10 to win 5, 10 to win 2, 10 to win 3. They're all small wins, but they're wins. And I'm pretty sure these are guaranteed. We've argued about Baltimore, Tennessee, but I know we agree on New Orleans, Pittsburgh.
100%.
So in an if bet, and I'm doing this to win or push, what it does is it tells Vegas, okay, you have these 3 bets. If Baltimore wins or that game pushes, you're taking my winnings and you're putting them now on New Orleans for $10. So if I win $5, I have $15 coming back to me. I get my 10 back. I get my 5. I got $15 coming back to me. They're going to take 10 of those bucks and they're going to put it on the Saints. And then if the Saints win on the money line, I'm going to get that $12. Now I got $17, and they're going to take 10 of those dollars and they're going to put it on Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. And then if Pittsburgh loses, I'm really only down 3. If they win, now I'm up. I lost track.
Now you're up 10 because
10.
you've hit all 3 of them.
And then I get my other 10 back, so I'm up 20. Right. So I got 20 back. I'm up 10. I get 20. So it's having Vegas do it for you. It's instead of you sitting there going, all right, I'm putting 10 on Baltimore. Okay, they're gonna win. 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 Yep, they won. All right, I'm gonna go put 10 on the Saints. All right, they win. They win. Yep. All right, cool. I'm gonna go put it on Pittsburgh. You're having them do it for you. And then if one of them loses, boom, you're done. The rest are no action. So if Baltimore loses in the first game of that and Tennessee wins and you're right and I'm wrong and I'm an asshole, and then they don't put the rest of the money on New Orleans, Pittsburgh. I would have to go back and do the rest of the money on them. So that's what an if bet is. So that's my if bet, and that's what I'm doing. It's going to kind of take me, I'm assuming, 11 a.m., no respect for the Bills, getting an early game. So I'm going to be drinking early. I'm going to be drunk. I'm going to be drinking all day, watching football all day. Sunday is going to be more of a hangover recovery day. So I don't want to think about it. I'm just going to have them do it for me and have it done. And we got our fantasy hockey draft. So and you guys need to stay tuned after football. We're going to be talking hockey, basketball, and baseball betting too. So stay tuned with that. But
well, I love this opportunity for you on Sunday with the if bet. It's going to be really cool to see how that pans out. I did not do an if bet this week. I'm gonna hold off because I spent my $100. But you know that may be something that for the divisional round when we only have 2 games, that may be something that I tap into for sure.
And it allows you time to do other bets too, where if you want to look at prop bets and stuff, you don't have to worry about your bet. You already got it done there. So, and there's no advantage or disadvantage to it. It's not like, we're a parlay where you have to have all of them to hit or something like that. It's just, they're doing their bets for you. So it makes it real nice. The only difference is if you're betting for the win or the push or just the win. So that's the only thing.
Gotcha. All right.
Well, that concludes our wild card weekend edition, Tony. As always, it's been so much fun. I love it. I love getting drunk and talking with you, and talking football and talking sports. It's my passion. I love it, and I know you love it too. And I hope you guys out there love it. Remember always to like and share the heck out of this. Let everybody know, especially if you like it. Let everybody know. Get everybody watching it. Boost us up. We love it. We love to see. We watch how many people listen to it and watch. I don't care if you listen to audio or watch us. If you don't want to see our ugly mugs and you just want to watch it, that's totally fine. I'm good with that. But please like us, subscribe, all that other fun stuff. Just like everybody else tells you, I'm going to be that same whore and ask for the same thing. So thank you, fans, very much. Tony, thank you very much. I love you, brother.
Love you, brother. Talk to you next week in the divisional round.
Go Bills.
All right. Bye now.
Bye.